To Rotary Club of Welcome to Rotary Club of Hudson. Today is April 22nd, 2026. Probably one of the best days of the year so far, weather-wise. Glad to see all your bright, smiley faces. My name is Tom Tobin. I'm Sergeant of Arms, and let's get things going. By the way, we do have two guests this morning. I tell you what, let me hold up on that for a second. We'll do the other things first. So we're going to start out with an invocation. Kelly, if you'll come on up and get us pointed in a godly way. Yeah. Come on, Kelly. Kelly's pretty good.
There's invocation and then there's blovication, and this is the latter of the two. This actually is true. I do remember I'm in my 30s, and I'm asking my wife's grandfather these questions, and these are the answers. But I think you'll find these answers are as true today as they were, this would have been the 1990s. And I am blind, so I can't really read. These were his responses. I'm exhausted every single day, tired down to my bones. He was 80. I have to do one of these. I'm watching people I love pass away, or I've already buried them. I'm afraid of becoming a burden. That's my worst fear. I live with the constant pain. Kind of my new normal. I forget things now, but it scares me. I feel invincible, like no one really sees me. I'm proud I made it this far. I'm done apologizing for existing. I've earned my place, and I'm still learning. Even now, I still learn every single day. Those were his responses to the questions that the family had. And with that, God bless everyone and have a great day.
That's great. Part of that was a little depressing, but I will say, because I think this group is all about being Kelly, I think this group is about being lifelong learners, and I think that we all want to be that. Now, by the way, I think our presentation today will help us in that pursuit. So we have, let's see, for the Pledge of Allegiance, Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? All right, we do have two guests today. Do you want to introduce them? Okay, I'm just going to mention, because I think we're going to invite them to maybe say, just to tell us a little bit. We have Ollie back again. Ollie, remind me, which club are you from again? Stowe, Vermont. That's right, skiing capital of the Northeast. And his friend Clint is here today, too. So, yeah, we're happy to have you here. Let me turn it over to Keith. Here you go.
All right. Hey, Ollie, can you come on up, please? Now, I think all of us remember from last week that the Stowe Vermont Rotary has a fifth mantra in their four-way test. They have a five-way test, and is, are we having fun, right? Are we having fun? All right, thank you. Ollie, thank you so very much for being with us again. We appreciate you visiting.
Well, on behalf of our club, all the members, and the whole town of Stowe, Vermont, I'd like to present to this community and this club our Rotary flag.
Thank you. We accept this with honor, and thank you very much again for presenting it and for being here, and I will send you a Hudson Rotary flag for you to display at your club. Oh, we got to do a photo op. Thank you. Well, I'm going to kind of put this like here so we have it front and center today. So thank you, Ollie. Well, we got a lot going on today, so welcome everybody. As Tom said, it's a beautiful day here in Hudson. A couple of wonderful things are going on right now. First of all, just want to announce that Kaz did it again. Okay, it's not a Britney Spears song. It's Kaz winning the district speech contest for the four-way test. So he'll be going on to our regional competition. And again, you know, he's such an amazing kid. So representing Hudson very well. So we'll see if he takes it all again this year. So again, congratulations to Kaz. I think we're all very proud of that young man, and we'll probably be seeing him on the election circuit someday down the road, I would say, because I think he'd make one heck of a. He doesn't. Oh, he would be a fantastic representative. He is such a great speaker. Now a couple of other things here. I need 5 participants to help with determining who we are going to nominate for the Jimmy Suffman Award and the Rotarian of the Year Award. As you know, we pass out the list of potential candidates for those awards around this time, and I would like to have 5 representatives of our club to help me come up with some names that we can put on the ballot for this year. So do I have any volunteers? Okay, I got Tom, I've got Kelly, got Ed. Does anybody else want to participate? If not, Marilyn. And then one more. Oh, okay, I saw Sue. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Can you see me after the meeting? We'll kind of put a time together to kind of discuss our options there. So thank you very, very much. Rotary Youth Exchange. Joe is still looking for families to host this young individual who will be coming to our community here in August as a exchange student. Again, as we said before, this is could be any type of family. They don't have to have children right now. They can be grandparents, parents. They just have to live in the Hudson School District. So again, if you know anybody who may be willing or able to host this young individual, we're looking for 3 families. It's a 3-month commitment for each family. And again, rewarding on both parts. You know, it's going to be a great opportunity for this young individual to come to Hudson, learn a lot about our community as well as living in the United States, and we will have the opportunity to learn about that individual as well and their community and their culture. So again, if you know anybody, we're kind of getting down to crunch time here, so if you know anybody who may be interested, please ask family, friends, anybody that you know in the community, and get that information to Joe so we can kind of move things forward. Ron, would you like to come up for a second? I was reminded by Dave earlier that we're coming close to the end of the school year. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're already going into May and so forth. It's amazing. So Ron has, has always led our Memorial Day parade. And so Ron, take it away.
Okay. For the Memorial Day parade, we need 3 people. We need 1 to carry the carry the flag, 2 to carry the banner, and then my truck. I've got a driver for that, though. That's me. So, what?
Catherine's going to do the banner for you.
Okay, so we need a 2nd person to carry the banner. Want you to do the flag. Whatever that Monday is. Yep. So you just need to show up at 9:30 so that we can get everything in place because it starts at 10 o'clock.
Okay. So we have.
So we need a 2nd banner carrier, but you've got a week or 2. Well, we don't have a meeting next week, so.
Oh, Tom.
Yeah, 2 weeks. You will? Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Good.
Very good. Thank you all very much for participating in this. I'll be flying back from Las Vegas, so unfortunately I won't be able to attend, but hopefully I'll be flying back with a lot of cash, but you never know. I don't think that's going to happen, but one can always dream. Let's see here. We've got the Patrick, the Boy Scout camp. We got May 9th. We got that all set up. We're doing painting this time, right?
Wear your painting clothes.
Okay.
We are painting National Park brown.
Well, very good. So, kind of switching it up a little bit this year. So instead of cleaning the bathhouse, we're going to be putting a fresh coat of paint on it. So again, that's on May 9th. Do you have enough people to do this? Do you have everybody signed up?
We've got a good crew that signed up.
Okay.
If anybody else is interested, May 9th, 9 a.m. at camp.
Yeah, it's a fun day. Hopefully we'll have wonderful weather. And then there's always a great lunch that's prepared by the scouts. So it's a great time for us to just go have some fun together as scouts and do some really good work and enjoy a nice lunch meal together over in the clubhouse, whatever you call that, the meal house. Or you can tell I was not a scout, so I don't know the technical terms. Dave, would you like to come on up and tell us a little bit about our big event coming up on May 1st?
Thanks, President Keith. There's a sign-up sheet going around. This is the final sign-up. Maryland has it for Hudson Rotary Night on the Town. This is a night at the Hudson Players on May 1st. It's a Friday. It's the Follies. It's a Sondheim musical production. We get a group rate, $13 a ticket. This is the final sign-up, so when you sign this, you're on the hook for $13 for each ticket that you indicate you want to buy. There will be a short tour backstage afterward. The director for the players will provide that. And the current plan is for a reception at a local restaurant. We're thinking probably Brew Kettle. That's still TBD. We need to talk to them and get that all worked out. So I will let everybody know a final on that. But that's the scoop. Pardon? Okay. Ben is going to write a check to Hudson Players on behalf of the club in the amount of the tickets that everybody signs up for. We will all write our checks back to the club just like we do for the annual dinner. That's an easier way to handle it, I think, rather than having 20 checks for the Hudson Players. So make certain you bring your check at least at the next meeting. That'll be the first meeting in May since we don't have a meeting next week. So we need to pay the club back.
Thank you, Dave. And since we will be holding that event next week, we will not actually have a club meeting next week. So in lieu of the meeting, we're going to be having the Follies. So no club meeting here next week, just so everybody knows you don't show up and wonder where we're all at. So again, thank you for getting that all set up, Dave. We really do appreciate it. Again, I want to remind everybody that we are collecting funds this week for Camp Ryla. Thank you, Terry, for working on that. Again, that camp is a wonderful opportunity for young individuals to develop their leadership skills. So if you can, what is it, like $31, $32? Okay. Whatever, okay. Okay, that's right, yeah, because it was 30-some bucks for like a year's worth of books and so forth. Okay. So whatever you can spare would be wonderful, and again, goes towards a very great cause here for Rotary. So with that, am I missing any other announcements for the Rotary from the group? Does anybody need to say anything to the group regarding any Rotary business? Are we all good? All right, I got a thumbs up from Tom, so I'm going to say that's good. Yes, Gail? Yeah, and we also need people who might be interested in participating in either as a trustee on the board of directors for the club or for the foundation. So does anybody have any interest in that that's not already participating? All right, well, think about it. It's a wonderful opportunity and a great way to give back to the club. So with that, we are going to move forward with our presentation. So Dave, why don't you come back up again? Sorry. Should have just kept you up here. And again, thank you, Dave, for the speakers for this month. Appreciate it.
Speakers this month actually procured by Jim Lang. That's fine. Jim couldn't be here today, so he asked me to stand in for him to introduce today's speaker, who is Jason Klein. Jason is a historic structure specialist with more than 25 years of experience in preservation, construction, and project management. He operates a preservation consulting company and has held various roles at Western Reserve Historical Society. Those roles have included preservation manager, director of Hale Farm and Village, and vice president of historic properties. Currently, Jason is the chief historic preservation officer for the Western Reserve Historical Society. So please join me in giving Jason a warm Rotary welcome. Thanks.
Good morning. Let's see what picture. All right, so the Cranz Farm. The Cranz Farm property is roughly 7 acres. It has 3 historic outbuildings, modern horse barn, a mid-19th century farmhouse. This presentation is going to explore the history of the Cranz family who built the house and the property, and highlight a recent historic preservation project, really an adaptive reuse project, to turn this historic house into an inn for overnight stays. There we go. And this is a picture of the original front facade of the structure. All right, so Cranz Farm is a newly restored historic farmhouse offering overnight lodging, small events, and retreats within the heart of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. It is right next door to Hale Farm and Village. It is operated by the Western Reserve Historical Society. The inn represents a thoughtful reuse of a 19th century agricultural property, transforming it into a destination that blends heritage preservation with modern hospitality. Situated on a scenic plateau, again, it's right next door to Hale Farm and Village. It has great views of the valley. It's easily accessible from both Cleveland and Akron. The balance of seclusion and convenience is one of the defining features of the property, and a key reason it was selected by the Historical Society as an adaptive reuse project to be turned into an inn. It stands out in the national park because, quite honestly, overnight accommodations are pretty limited down there within the boundaries of that area. Guests are able to immerse themselves in the natural environment with immediate access to hiking trails, outdoor recreation, nearby cultural attractions like the Scenic Railroad. At the same time, the inn serves as a complementary asset to Hale Farm and Village, which is the Historical Society's Living History Museum located just next door. It allows visitors to deepen their understanding of the Western Reserve area, its history, through both interpretation and place-based programs that go on at Hale Farm and Village. So the history of the Cranz Farm goes back to the mid-19th century, which reflects a broader story of German immigrants settling and agricultural development in Northeast Ohio. That area in Bath, where Hale Farm is, was settled in 1810 by the Hale family, and the Hammond family and the Cranz family. And those were the three families that really first came to that part of Summit County and built homes and started agricultural practices and the development of Bath. The Cranzes originally constructed the first part of that house in 1867, establishing a homestead that would remain in family ownership for more than a century. The design and placement of the house is positioned on elevated ground, underscores both practical farming considerations and appreciation for the surrounding landscape. All right. Over the years, the farmhouse evolved as the Cranz family needs changed. So the original mass, which is a rectangular structure, was three rooms on the first floor, 3 rooms on the second floor. It was built in 1867. In 1890, they expanded that with 2 additional rooms. One, it is supposed, became a kitchen for the family to use, and another bedroom. And they lived in that house in that sort of configuration until the 60s when they sold the property. The next owner of significance was the Springer family in the late 60s, mid 60s actually, that purchased the property from the Cranzes. And they nearly doubled its size with an addition in the 1970s. So it's quite a big structure. It's probably 3,000 plus square feet. And then subsequently from the Springer, Dr. Springer and his family, when they sold the property, it was acquired by the National Park Service. And in the early 90s, the property and the house and the original 3 structures that are still standing were nominated and accepted into the National Register of Historic Places. Not too long after that, in early 2000, the Western Reserve Historical Society then acquired that property through some land trades with the national park. So Hale Farm and Village at that point was, I'll say, roughly 115 acres or so. There were some non-continuous parcels of land that was part of Hale Farm and Village that the Park Service wanted. So what they did was a little land swap so that Hale got rid of some of those parcels that were more important to the national park in the Cuyahoga Valley, and this property, the Cranz property, was then given to the Historical Society. And we are going to go on to the next slide. So the project. The transformation of the Cranz Farm House was a result of a comprehensive multi-year restoration led by the Western Reserve Historical Society. Multi-year, it probably from the first idea that this was a good and highest use of the property through the end of construction and now being open this year, it was probably a 3 to 4 year process. WRHS frequently does a review of all their historic properties and structures to see if they're being used appropriately, highest use of things. This property had been lived in by one of the longest standing directors of Hale Farm, Sigfrid Burling, for many years. And when he and his wife Heidi left the property, it sat empty for a couple years, and that's when the discussion started of how the Historical Society should use this house. Consulting with a number of different entities, it came to be that a great use for the property would be a inn, for a place for people to stay in the Cuyahoga Valley, given that there's only a handful of places in the valley proper. There are some accommodations in Peninsula and surrounding towns, VRBOs and that sort of thing, but nothing sort of in that area. And that's when the process started. So the first thing that was done, a historic structure report was done on the house and all the structures on the property, as well as a site evaluation.
Maybe dying.
Check. All right. Where was I? So the site evaluation was done, and again, it was determined that the highest and best use of the place was for overnight stays. After those evaluations, the plan started to be developed, working with an architect on what the property would look like, and not just the house and the restoration and adaptive reuse part of that, but the property as a whole. So the outbuildings, the barn that's on the land, and that sort of thing. And the plan, the design work began and was, started to be formulated. And it incorporated everything from site work through changing the house into a use for multi-room stays. Again, it was a residential property for well over 100 years, Cranz family, Springer family, the Burlings. Now we had to do some work to figure out how we could protect the historic integrity of the place, also modifying it for this new modern use. And the pictures I will go through now are the end result of that entire process. Again, there were some other things that needed to be done. So the property had a restrictive covenant that the National Park Service had placed on that land, so it could not be torn down. It was not allowed to be overdeveloped or additional housing built on the property. There's a whole process when adaptive reuse projects commence that are tied to a National Park Service land. One of those is a Section 106 review. They look at all the cultural assets that are on that property. We had to do excavation to see if there were any native artifacts on that land. It was quite extensive. That process alone took a year to get final approval from the National Park Service, and then the construction began. The construction started in, it was fall of '24, so November we broke ground on some of the site work, and we received occupancy on August of '25. And then from that point, from 25 until, I want to say it was 100% complete December of this year. So that was decorations, furnishings, getting the property to a point where we could open the doors and allow people to come enjoy it. So at the beginning of the project, this slide just shows pictures of the condition of the house. It wasn't actually in horrible condition. The exterior and the site work on the structures were sort of superficial. It was repairing some siding that had been rotten and things like that, a new roof that was more than 30 years old. Windows were original to the 1970s additions that had been done to the property. And just some overgrown landscaping, quite honestly. The other site work did include regrading and drainage for drive that goes from Oak Hill Road up to the house. It's quite steep, so some work needed to be done there. And then originally the house water supply was through a natural spring, and that was just not sufficient to accommodate 5 bedrooms and the way we all use our homes today. So a cistern and water system had to be installed. These are some images of some of the site work that was done to the property. So it was pretty extensive. The whole project cost around $1.2 million, not including furnishings. It was split pretty evenly between the site work and the preservation work done on the structures, sort of right down the middle. There were some other fees involved in that. Architectural fees were included in that sort of thing. Some exterior work that was being done, as I mentioned, all the windows were replaced. And I should note that when doing an adaptive reuse project like this, there are a set of standards from the Department of the Interior for historic preservation projects. And they are, we as a historical society and most practitioners of historic preservation use those guidelines sort of to lead the way as far as design work and how you approach a project like this. Some of the examples are replacing materials in kind. So basically what that means, there's wood cladding on this house. It's really important that with the preservation adaptive reuse project, we are using wood products to replicate exactly how it looked. We're trying to preserve the historic integrity of the structure, and those are components that are really important to projects like this. On the other side of that, windows need replaced. We don't need to install all wood windows in a project like this, but we do have to pay particular attention to the style of the windows. We're not using vinyl windows. We're making sure that we're replicating the number of divided lights in a window sash as they would have been on the original structure. And these are just some photos of the windows that were being replaced. The bay window on that top left, that was part of the 1970s edition. That was one of the challenges with this project. 2 of the masses of the house were from the 1800s, 1867 and 1890. The other half of the house was 1970. There's not a whole lot of guidance for preserving a 1970s structure. we didn't have to replace the shag carpet. We didn't have to do anything like that. But we did have to be mindful and blend that part of the house with the original 1800s masses. Bottom right is what would have been the front of the house when it was just that one smaller section, the front porch. That was totally restored, masonry redone, again, protecting the historic elements, so there's brackets on the post, making sure that if those were not in great condition, we were replicating them exactly how they existed originally. To the left, there was a porch that was part of the second edition 1890s, but over the years they had enclosed that with aluminum screens and doors and things like that. All of that stuff was removed. We wanted to take it back to its original appearance and intent of 1890. Here's some pictures of the interior and what it looked like. Again, very 1970s, hollow wood doors and things like that, linoleum floors. But the house, as I mentioned before, it was not in horrible shape. It had been lived in. It was just in need of a lot of updates. The 70s were the primary theme of the interior of this entire structure. And here's some other pictures of the progress. in doing that. There were original beautiful oak hardwood floors in the house. There were some other areas, as I mentioned, that were not so beautiful. There was linoleum and shag carpet and things like that that were all removed. And some of the design features, even in the later 70s edition of this structure, we matched materials that were in the original 1860s, 1890s part of the house. Just some other shots of in-progress construction. Another component was, because we were turning this into an inn place for folks to stay overnight, we did have to reconfigure a couple of the rooms. It was a 5-bedroom originally, but they were not conducive to how the property was going to be used, or our vision for how it was going to be used. So we had to change some of the walls. The tricky part of that in an adaptive reuse is again, we're trying not to change how the original tent was when the Cranzes built it, but still making it able to be used how we wanted it to. So this is an image of the kitchen space. This is one of those spaces where very small, very different than the kitchens we all live with today. We were able to keep the same footprint, and there are some images that we'll see after we get through the construction ones of how it turned out. We were able to do a lot with these spaces as they existed and not have to change them. Just other views of some pass-throughs and partitions that were altered for how the property will be used now. It's shaping up. So here we are. This is the final result. Again, construction was less than a year, but the whole project was more like 3 years and change with approvals and everything else. So this is the entryway. Every piece of this house was touched. So flooring, walls, ceilings, lighting, electrical, all the mechanical systems, the HVAC, the electric, the plumbing, they were all redone from top to bottom. Original hardwood floors were all kept, and where they were in rough shape, they were refinished. Oh, there we go. So this is a great room. There was not a whole lot done in here. Beautiful stone fireplace. Really, this is part of the 70s edition. The only thing done in this room was lighting, mechanicals. The floor was restored, and it was painted. This room was left, for the most part, as it has been for, well, since the 1970s. Picture of the buffet room and the dining room. Again, so the hardwood floors, the picture on the bottom right, the hardwood floors in there were original. They were just restored. The picture on the left, those hardwood floors were matched to replicate what existed in the other part of the house. So there's that melding of old and new that's pretty important to process this. Just some more shots of a laundry room and a restroom on the first floor. This is all part of the 1970s edition. Some of this space was changed, so we had a little more latitude with altering partitions in the 70s era part of the house versus the original 1800s. even though all parts are on and listed in the National Register of Historic Places. This is the kitchen. Quite a transformation from what was there. So the property is 5 bedrooms. 3 of the bedrooms have ensuite bathrooms. This is one of those. And as you can see out the window, fantastic views of the valley. You look right over Hale Farm and Village and that whole corridor that runs down past Old Trail School. Another one of the first floor bedrooms and bathrooms. Again, all of the flooring in those are original to the house and redone. Bathrooms not. All the bathrooms were completely gutted and redone. Sitting room. So, in addition to that stuff, what we chose to do with the decorating and the installation of furnishings and things like that. Obviously, rope beds were not going to cut it for a property like this. So new bedding and couches and things like that were purchased. However, all the other furnishings in the property, chairs, tables, things like that, were all deaccessioned from collections at the Western Reserve Historical Society. So what that means is these are objects that were sitting in storage that were either deemed for use by whoever donated them, or they were not fitting for the collections, the focus of the collections at the Historical Society. So we carefully went through, with the help of a local designer, and picked out these different items to populate the entire house, including objects that are on shelves and books and things like that. In addition to that, and those pictures didn't show it because they weren't installed yet, but there's artwork all over the walls. And all of that artwork is collection pieces from the Historical Society as well. And it really rounds out the historic nature of this property. We feel that it's that extra little piece that turns it just from your average overnight inn or short-term rental into a more immersive historic experience. So that is the Cranz Farm. Again, it's in Bath. It's adjacent to Hale Farm and Village. It really is a fantastic example of a successful adaptive reuse program, which is terminology for in the preservation world for highlighting the historic character of a structure, but modernizing it. So, are there any questions?
Yeah, so we asked to use the microphone.
Oh.
Again.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if, because you're making it for public use, you didn't mention if, did you have to make this handicap accessible and follow all those guidelines, or are you excluded from that because of the historic nature of the property?
Well, there is some, because it is a historic property, there is more leeway in regards to that. So there's a restroom on the first floor that we did build out to be completely ADA compliant. It's a full bathroom, shower, and all. The bedrooms, because of the door frame openings and some other things, it wasn't practical to make these rooms. The second floor, there would be no way to make that accessible. The bedrooms on the first floor, the bathrooms, there was not space to make them truly ADA. And when you do that type of project, you have to go if you're going to make it ADA, it has to be ADA all the way around. So we weren't able to do that. But we've made provisions with the one ADA restroom on the first floor, and there is space in that home big enough that in future iterations of this, we will make accommodations that are ADA, so someone can stay with.
Yeah, I just wondered if you were required to do that because of public use, or if you could be excluded from that because.
No, you don't have to.
Okay. One other question. I noticed in the entranceway, there was tile. Is that tile on the floor?
That is tile.
Would that have been, or was that a choice because of, usage to use the tile rather than hardwood?
It was a choice because of usage, so it's the main entryway. That portion is also part of the 1970s
Oh, okay.
addition that was put on the house. And there was tile on that floor when the project started, so we removed the old tile that was failing and we installed that.
So if there's an institution that's about 102 years old and that exists within the national park that has some historical structures, would you be interested in potentially partnering with them to do some renovations on those facilities? I'm referring to the Camp Manitowoc and Camp Butler.
All right. We'll have to talk.
What did you do, or what are you going to do with the barn and the other outbuildings there?
So the three outbuildings, there's a chicken coop, a tool shed, and a smokehouse. We did exterior restoration work on all three of those. The chicken coop in particular, the foundation had completely failed, so we lifted that up and dug and poured a new foundation underneath that structure. Part of the master plan of the property is to use some of those original outbuildings as bunkhouses for, I don't know that I would even call it glamping, but camping in a covered structure in the future. The horse barn is in pretty rough shape, and that was not in the scope of the project. There had been partitions put up in that structure over the years to accommodate parking a car in there, and there was a wood shop and some other things in there. Part of the master plan with that building is to remove all those partitions and utilize it as a rental space. So if someone wanted to rent that property for a wedding, for example, they could have a wedding and ceremony and party in the barn and then stay on the property.
I noticed there were some classic antiques displayed within the house. Did those come from the original family, or where did you gather the antiques?
No, they did not. The Cranz family, by the time the Springers had purchased the house, there was not a lot of that stuff left. I want to say the Springers may have come upon some items that were still there, but they were not passed along to the Park Service and then sequentially to the Historical Society. Most all of the antiques in that house are from the Western Reserve Historical Society's collection.
Oh, okay. And can you tour the house?
No, you can't. So
you have to.
You have to
stay overnight. Okay.
You have to stay overnight.
Okay. Thank you.
It's $625 a night. It sleeps 10, and when the property is rented, the entire property is rented. So for $600, you get the entire price.
Well, since you're talking about money right now, is the property self-sufficient or it's subsidized?
So it is, the business plan behind it was to make it self-sufficient. So one of the ways And one of the reasons why the highest and best use of this property was for doing this was because it was a means to not only protect the house, have the funding to perpetually protect this property, but also generate additional income for the Western Reserve Historical Society. And it's not making millions, but it's making enough to do both of those things. The key for us, so the Western Reserve Historical Society, we have 52 historic structures that we maintain and care for over Northeast Ohio. There's 7 sites, but 52 historic structures. And they range anywhere from, the few thousand square foot house that is the Cranz Inn to 100,000 square foot mansions in University Circle. So we have our collection of structures is quite extensive. And in doing strategic reviews of all of our properties, one of the key things right now that we focus on is how we make these viable financially so that they don't fall into disrepair. As we all know, we live in houses or apartments. It costs a lot to maintain those. With 52, it's a considerable amount of resources that the Historical Society has to spend on that.
I look at the world through a philanthropic lens, and I was tickled to see that people had contributed antique furniture. I especially loved that, both of the benches, the wooden benches, the one that was in the cove there, or whatever you call that, and then the nook, and then the other one was the one where the back had been and the sidearms had been removed. I think, is that more of a almost like a coffee table now, or?
It is a coffee table. So that was in the collections, but the back and the spindles had been broken. It's beyond repair.
It's a wonderful reuse. And I just wanted to make the point too, because I've seemed like I'm at the age now where I'm dealing with a lot of people who wonder, like my parents, wonder about where their beloved antiques, what's going to happen to them someday. And I think I'm seeing there is an opportunity perhaps to contribute those to the Western Reserve Historical Society and have them live on and be appreciated by others. So, but somebody could get in touch with Western Reserve Historical Society to explore that more. I also just want to mention one other thing. Our speaker today, I discovered this morning, I'm proud to say, is a Hudson explorer, class of 1988. And I'm sure it does us all good to know that our students, our explorers, are out there doing good in the world, and I consider this very good. So I'm curious, where did you get the bug for this? What was the motivation originally? Growing up in Hudson, you must have been aware of Hudson Heritage Association, Reserve, all the buildings there, things like that. Did any of that play a role, or did it come later?
Absolutely, I think so. I think subconsciously, being immersed in historic Hudson my whole life played a huge role in that, for sure. I didn't know it's what I would be doing. Of course, I went to school for totally unrelated things, but
you found your
passion. I have the greatest job.
Great.
Fantastic.
Can't ask for more.
No.
Yeah.
Can we have a round of applause, please? Fortunate and blessed to be located just next door to such a beautiful national park. And again, thank you so much for coming out and sharing your experience with the Cranz Farmstead. It was just amazing, the transformation. So again, something to be very, very proud of. Well, we'll wrap up the meeting. Do we have any quick announcements from the club? Anything going on? Patrick. All right, thank you. All right, if that's everything, I want to thank our guests again for being, Marilyn? We're going to do the rotobuck. I'm not forgetting the rotobuck. So I know I tend to forget that, but I'm not going to forget it this time. But so thank you for joining us today. We were very proud to have you both. And safe travels back to Stowe, Vermont. So thank you. And I would also, again, like to ask my nominating committee to touch base with me at the end of this meeting so we can set up a time for us to get together and get that handled. So with that, I will now move on to the Rotobuck raffle. So today, our payout is a whopping $8. Our jackpot is $168. So, Jason, can I ask you to pick the winning ticket, please? All right, want to read it off? Oh, I'm sorry.
I got to get my eyes on here.
I know, I'm the same way.
All right, the winner is 3242496.
All right, Dr. Pat, come on up. Thank you, Jason. All right, Dr. Pat, come on down. Thank you. And just so you can see it's in there, I'm going to take it quickly. Okay. Oh, just missed it. All right, so the pot continues to grow. Here you go, Doctor. Thank you very much. All right, we will end our meeting with our inspirational quote for the week. And this one comes from Robert Louis Stevenson. Keep your fears to yourself, but share your courage with others. And so with that, we will end our meeting for the week. I will look forward to seeing everybody at the Follies next week. Remember, we do not have a meeting here at the auditorium or here at Hudson Meadows. We're meeting for the Follies. So again, everybody have a wonderful week. Enjoy the beautiful weather out there.